Carsten, welcome to the Stellar Work podcast. Really happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
I wanted to make an interview because this is like a international podcast. About 35% of the listeners are coming from the US. But we're all sitting here in Europe. And I'm sitting in Germany. And I wanted to make an episode specifically about the German AI, the state of German AI Mittelstand market, if you want, right? And so I was Googling around and I found you. And I was impressed. I knew a couple of companies like FactFinder or Casablanca. That's where I know you from. But there's like even much more to uncover. So let's jump in.
So thank you.
Maybe we start with a short introduction for everyone who does not know you yet.
Yeah, so I'm Carsten Kraus. I have started 12 companies so far. I'm just opening the 13th. And it's always based on inventions. So I made my first inventions during school time and started my first company when I was 16. And actually, I invented the new architecture for programming languages, which we sold to Atari computers later on. And Omikron BASIC, you can find it on Wikipedia. Omikron BASIC was 70 times faster than their own programming language they delivered with the machines.
How old were you when you did that?
We sold it to Atari after school time, but we launched it actually. We developed. I developed the ideas, the algorithms, the architecture while I was still at school, and it took us some time until we finished the language, because there was also a lot of programming involved and not just the algorithms. But I had the ideas when we made an extension to the Commodore 64 programming language, and I said, so how stupid is this, how they built it? We can do it much better. And I had some ideas how to build the architecture in a different way. So that was my first bigger invention, or actually it was like 10 different things we changed in the programming language interpreter. And so that was the first thing, and then I made lots of things. So you named FactFinder. So I was the first one to build a functioning similarity search. So when you type something in an online store and you find it, even though you made a typo or it was not correctly typed in the store itself, in the data, or the concatenations, like in German, in German words, when you have Lederjacke, but in the catalog, it's Jacke aus Napperleder. And we found all those things in the year 2000, and that was 2 years before Google came up with this. Did you mean? And until we had any opponents in the market in the large online stores, because Google's algorithm didn't fit well for that. It took about 10 years. So before 2010, nobody was anywhere near comparable. So we could show in 2 minutes that all the rest is rubbish.
That is so impressive, because we always think about Silicon Valley inventions when it comes to those type of things. We expect them to come out of a Google lab somewhere, right? But then you go back in time and you look at it, and it's actually someone from Germany, maybe, right?
Often, yes.
Yeah.
So also the transformer. So one of the basic, the foundations for large language models was invented to a big part by a German who went to the US and invented it while he was in the US. But Jakob Uskoreit, the son of Hans Uskoreit, who is still in Germany, and I know him personally. We talk sometimes. And Jakob Uskoreit made the key invention there. So there are lots of Germans everywhere in the world, and Germans are very inventive. Very often then they are not really keen to build a company, but rather they want to do the next invention.
Yeah.
So that's the difference probably to Silicon Valley, where people say, okay, how can I build a company out of this?
What happened after then? And especially, how did you move from FactFinder into the AI application layer?
Yeah, so actually FactFinder had a lot of AI already inside. It's not LLM AI, because obviously there was no LLM in 2000. And so we started putting machine learning. So we had AI before, but it was different kind of AI. But we had machine learning, so learning from user interaction in 2006. So, for example, when you look for blue trousers, an obvious suggestion would be a jeans. but people don't type in blue trousers when they wanted jeans.
Yep.
They would type in jeans. So we found by user interaction that people who search for blue trousers are not clicking on the jeans. And we identified jeans by categorizing like the material is denim and not lamb's wool or something. Yes, we found also that the sizes are mostly double sizes of 34, 38 instead of just size 54 or something. So
a lot of it was like machine learning, pattern recognition, and looking at user behavior.
Yeah, so taking user behavior and generalizing it in order to provide the best search results. And so this was the next inventions in FactFinder. So how to do these things, and also we were so much ahead in all those things also. So not only similarity, which was still until 2010. It was not existent outside us, and then we put in all these additional things like learning from user behavior, learning from data interaction. So like what differentiates this from other things? How do we group it? How do we make suggestions based on data patterns, so underlying product data patterns, and so on. So there were so many interesting things to discover, and I was always with our researchers. So we had a team of 5 researchers, mathematicians mostly, 1 linguist. But it was also always very, very interesting for me to also mix with them and also do next things.
Yeah, I can imagine. How did that phase in your life transition to, let's say, the next step, which when I'm looking at your CV would be the Casablanca AI?
Yes.
Where I was actually like one of your beta users.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I really used this program.
Yeah.
I was just fiddling around with it because during COVID, everyone was hopping on Zoom calls and everyone was hopping on Teams calls. Everything was out of your
normal behavior.
Home desk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that as well. And I really wanted to have this worked out, and I was just like recording myself using Casablanca and just sending that to my colleagues. And I was like, how does this look odd or off in any way? Just give me the feedback to it. And I was playing around with it, but then I don't know why. I think I lost interest because most of the time when I worked at the consulting company back then, we then transitioned to more on-site events and everything got loosened up a little bit.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, then I probably move away from it. But how did you move into the Casablanca AI coming out of FactFinder?
So just to tell everybody who has not been to this phase, so Casablanca is a technology to get eye contact in video calls. So
thank you.
We kind of put a mini camera between the eyes of the person you're talking to, just without the mini camera. It's purely AI. We move the face in a way that it's correcting back to natural face contact, and not we're not moving it away or so. So if you look away in a video call, you also everybody sees you're looking away. But when you look at the other person's eyes, then you have eye contact. So this is for the reader, for the listeners. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So now, so I had this. I wanted to take in investors in FactFinder. I built a bootstrapped it until we had like 160 people. And I decided to take in investors because we were getting more competition, and I wanted to buy other smaller companies in different countries in order to internationalize better. That was my idea. But I wanted to take in the investors for 30%, maybe 49%, and still keep the majority. And then the thing came up with COVID that people had to have video calls all day, and I just didn't like the video calls at all, and I found out that it's because I never look people in the eyes, and I just lose the personal contact. I do have the face, but I don't really see what is the feeling behind it. And so I thought, how can I solve this? And I thought I could solve it with CycleGAN. So that's a certain technology, GAN, generative adversarial networks. And with CycleGANs, what you do there is like change horses to zebras, or more common, take change winter pictures to summer pictures, and so on. And that's used also or it was used before AI could generate the whole picture. But and so with a CycleGAN, you can change one state to another. But it was not good enough and too slow, but my first patent was based on that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to add additional discriminators, so influence factors to the GAN, in order to secure that the face is correct. But it was too slow and not good enough. So, but that was my original idea. And when I wrote the patent for that, so I have several patents on my own, as I said. When I wrote the patent, I actually found that it's so much more fun for me to go back to really full research, or do a lot of research, and not just doing all the meetings every day in the company. I said I should sell the company completely and not just take an investor in. So talking about competition and how to sell and how to market and so on is okay, but it's not something I desire to do.
Yeah.
Whereas research is something that really drives me forward.
Is it fair to say that Casablanca AI was probably one of the first application layers that came like when the AI wave hit? Like the first German AI application layer?
So at least it's one of the few big inventions. So what we in the end what we produced is we produced a foundation model for faces.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you want to do with faces can be done quicker with less training data and more performant with Casablanca, with Casablanca technology. So we have also developed, for example, an identification if somebody has a stroke, so medical condition, which we built in 5 days with only 150 training pictures from Kaggle, and we bet all others. So we were at, do I remember exactly? So it was like we were at 88% area under the curve, and the best one developed by universities with a lot of doctors and so on was 87. So it was 1% different, but area under the curve 1% is still something when you're already good that you need. It's normally difficult to achieve, and we did it within 5 days with only 150.
But you were well positioned to do that, right?
Yeah,
with all the data that you have.
Yeah, so we had the underlying trained model which understands faces.
Yeah.
So that means with this technology, you can do everything where you recognize something in the face or where you transform the face. We also built avatars which are 600 times faster. They're not on the current standard of what avatars can do. You can only do faces. You cannot hold a product in the camera or so. But we produced avatars which are so much faster than other avatars because our model is so compact. Yeah, so the technology really fascinates me and fascinated me from the beginning. So I said I need to do those things. And building a foundation model is, even if it's much smaller than a foundation model like an LLM, or also smaller than a new thing like the new picture generator or so, because it's specialized only on faces. Yeah, but in that aspect, it's so much better than the other thing, and it's so fascinating to be ahead of the world in something.
Yeah, I can imagine. It must be crazy, and I have to ask you this because I'm so interested in everything that is tech related between the European continent and the US, because that most of the time when we look at the tech news today, we look at big tech, we look at Silicon Valley, and we ask ourselves like, are we regulating ourselves in the EU to death, right? And one of the things that came to my mind was you founded so many companies, you were so deep into tech. Why didn't you move to Silicon Valley and just get some venture capitalists funding you over there and scaling it in a much bigger pond? Because that's the story most of the people would have done, but you chose to stay.
Yes. So I think from a commercial perspective, it would have been far wiser to just move to the US. Quite sure. So what is good here? So we have Germany is actually the capital of culture. So of culture, I mean like theaters, opera, and so on. So this part of the culture, which I quite like. So I'm one of these people who go to the opera and always are happy that the ticket costs only like 60 or 100 euros instead of when you go to Britain. When you go to an opera premiere, you pay £1,000 or so.
Just imagine sitting.
Yeah. So when you sit in the best places, So so I don't think it's good in Germany. They should actually increase the prices. So same in France. It's also there's much of subsidies in there. They should increase the prices, but for the for the good places, for the places in the middle, in the right, and so on. Yeah. So, however, but I'm one of the people who profit from that. But I wouldn't mind paying 300 euros or something, or maybe even sometimes 1,000. Yes.
So was it just culture, or was it more things that kept you here?
So also, I think some of the attitudes we have here I like much better than on other continents. so like we don't have death penalty in Germany. We have a lot of respect and so on. So. Of course, right now Germany is moving in a way where I'm not sure if we really keep up this, because we ignore that the ignorant people are the people we protect right now. But it's a different talk. We shouldn't go to this in depth now. But in general, the general attitude which we had like in 2000 or so, I think was really, really good. Yeah. So
So the thing really for you was that you didn't want to leave because you very much enjoy living.
Yes. So
it wasn't really like an economic decision or an entrepreneurial decision in any sort of form.
It was just a personal decision. So I like it here. Yes. So
that's interesting.
I mean, I have been to 43 countries, so mostly on holiday, but sometimes also just on business or both. So I have a share in a Kenyan company, and it was my first time in Kenya, and I did only business. However, the world is great, and I'm very happy with the world. But when I look at other countries where I would like to live, yes, there are some where I think I can well imagine to also live there now. But in general, so Europe is good. Yes, so unless we get so when the slowdown and the fall gets worse, then maybe Europe is not so good anymore because we get riots and things. But it's a different thing, and we shouldn't discuss it here.
No, we don't have to. I was just curious what your take is on like working with AI and leveraging AI in our industry here in Germany, let's say. Because most of the tech is actually being done, like all the foundation models are from somewhere else.
No. Black Forest Labs has developed in Germany, in Freiburg. They have moved to the US.
Unfortunately.
Of course, unfortunately. But they have moved to the US for economical reasons, and I can completely understand that move, especially when you look at what is happening in Europe. So, we don't want the entrepreneurs. We don't want AI. Or at least, yes, we do want them, but only if they
behave in a certain way.
In a certain way, yes. So I understand this commercially completely, and but there is the invention here. So Europe has a lot of inventions,
the capabilities, but it seems like not really the environment for it.
Not the environment to grow a company. That's actually what I also found out.
Why do you think that's the case?
Many reasons. So I think the key thing is that we believe in everybody needs to be the same, so not have equal chances. But it's not we believe, but lots of politicians believe that making everybody equal is the right way to lead the world. If it comes to the point that people leave the country. 5 of my friends have left the country in the last 3 years.
Other entrepreneurs?
Partly entrepreneurs, partly just very talented people.
Yeah.
And they say my chances in other countries are so much better. So some have gone to Switzerland, to the US.
And a lot of people moved to Portugal and Crete.
Yeah, one has moved to Portugal. And also one to... what's it? It's not Crete, but it's
Cyprus.
Cyprus, exactly.
Yeah, so, that's the other one.
Yeah, right. So, so there are entrepreneurs who move to Cyprus, so people are leaving the country because they say this Germany does not welcome our success.
Yeah,
Germany is against people who are successful. They need to be made equal, and this is actually has become much worse in the last 10 years or so. I did not have this feeling around 2000.
Yeah. It seems to be like a regression to the mean.
Yeah, exactly. So just press everything down to the mean or lift people up who are not
again
things,
to the mean.
So, yeah, right.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
exactly,
and that's where we all meet.
Yeah.
Where do you think we in Germany? And when I say that, I'm especially proud of the German Mittelstand. Where do you think we in Germany have actually a lever on the AI topic? It doesn't seem to be foundation models, although you're right, but they have moved as well. So is it asking you as someone who founded Casablanca as one of the parts of the application layer? Do you think the application layer would be something that we could thrive and build upon?
No,
is that something that
Casablanca is not an application layer, so we needed an own foundation model which we built.
The foundation model behind it isn't, but the app.
Yeah, okay, the app is an application, that's true. But we built this foundation model for faces. And so Germany can invent those things. Yes, it's not that we can't invent them. I mean, I must actually say I had 5 people who were not born in Germany, who were in my research team. So there was no one born in Germany. Some lived in Germany for quite a while and have German Staatsbürgerschaft. But we had 2 winners of the math Olympiad. One moved from Warsaw to Germany. So just to Pforzheim in our province. So also somebody left a unicorn in Munich in order to join us in the province, and so on.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so because it was so fantastic technology what we built, and it was so great for them to be part of that team. Yes, so
and it was insane. Like I was using Casablanca and I didn't realize that it's from here, and I was like, oh, this must be some Silicon Valley tech project going on, right? And then I just moved a little bit, played a little bit with it, and I was realized that, oh, this isn't like Silicon Valley tech. This is like from us. This is like from here.
So,
I was puzzled.
Yeah, and it was not built in Munich or Berlin.
Yeah,
but it was built in the province. Yeah, so but you can, if you have something really, really challenging, you can get the right people everywhere, because the people you want are normally not the ones who are only looking at their paycheck. You normally look at the people who say, I want to shape the world, I want to do something great, and you have to put those people in a room together.
Yeah.
And they wanted to move here because they wanted to meet personally with the others every day or almost every day. Yeah, so they could have home office as much as they wanted, but it was normally that some worked at home in the morning on their computer and then joined the others from lunch on and stood at the whiteboard for the afternoon, because it was Casablanca is mostly new mathematics we built, so it's not a big code. It's a lot of algorithm thinking. It's not so much. So the code itself is short. So the app around is much bigger than the technology, but the technology is the great thing. Which makes a difference. Yeah. So anyway, so I didn't move away, and as long as it's so Europe has its advantages. And
how could we play those advantages out? Looking at Germany specifically. So
you looked at what Germany do. So just, I mean, we have the technological power to do inventions in Europe. Not the technological power, we have the brain power. Now, the technological power is a different play. So many people say Aleph Alpha was dead before it was born, kind of. It's not true. I played with it, or not played, we built an application on Aleph Alpha for German, and on GPT-3 before for English, because GPT-3 was better in English and Aleph Alpha was slightly better in German at the time. So it was totally, it was competitive. It was not a problem there at that time. And then they invested in the US, in OpenAI, they invested so much money in training more and more and more. And Aleph Alpha didn't get this amount of money, so they couldn't do the training.
And I think it's not even just the money; it's like also getting all the compute to spend it somewhere,
having access to it. Yes, so you couldn't rent any big compute in Europe. You had to rent it in the US.
Yeah. And even if you rent it in Europe, you're probably renting it from a US company.
Yeah, right. So right now you can, but you could not at the time.
Yeah, true.
So actually Aleph Alpha bought their own computer, which was at the time they only invested like 20 million because they didn't have much more money.
Which is a ridiculously small number.
Yes, absolutely.
In that space.
Yes. So, but they invested only about 20 million, and they built their own computer for that because there was nothing available. It was the strongest AI computer at the time, I think, in Germany or maybe even in Europe at the time. Yes. And people also asked me, so why? So on LinkedIn, yes. So why aren't they building it on the High Performance Rechenzentrum Stuttgart or something? And I said, because it doesn't have AI power. At that time, it didn't have AI power. It was a big computer when you do weather calculations or something. But when you do AI, you need different computers. Yeah. And nobody understood this at the time. That was like before ChatGPT and so.
Before everyone calculated CapEx from each of the company reporting every quarter.
Yeah, right. So we do have the potential brain-wise. What we didn't have is the compute, and we're now getting some compute, and actually LLMs are getting both more expensive and cheaper at the same time. So I don't think it will grow so much anymore because we have, by the new inventions that, for example, DeepSeek made, we have a big reduction in training amount and in training compute required.
Because they're using a technique called distillation.
No, it's not distillation. Distillation is after you have trained the model, and after you have trained the model, you distill the content to a smaller model, which means that your inference will be much cheaper. But training has to be done on the big model. But they, so what did they do? They invented policy. PPO it's called. I can't remember what it stands for. So it's a different way in training how to give feedback in the training loop, and it just saved a huge amount of training work, of training compute. That's one of the things. They had some more thing on the on how to get the context window, how to condense it, how to find the right places in the context window, and so by all those inventions, they made training much cheaper. And also, Kimi has found so another Chinese model has found some new things where they made training even cheaper. But the first Kimi was not as good as DeepSeek. But it was.
So we basically see the US companies increasing their prices, while at the same time we have open source solutions that get cheaper and cheaper. So if you're okay having a model that is like 6 months old, you're probably paying almost to nothing compared to, let's say, your Claude license.
Yes. So the thing is, when you so people compare Qwen 3.6 27B. So that's a model with 27 billion parameters, which sounds like a lot, but
that's
as compared
a super popular model to run on your Mac Mini.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so you can run it on your Mac Mini. You can run it even because it's quantized, so it runs on 4-bit instead of 16-bit. Or you can use the quantized version. So it even runs on a 4090 or 3090. So we run this small model also on the 4090s. We also have a DGX. A big one, not the DGX Spark, but like the one for 150,000 euros. But we also run models on smaller computers. So the 27B is quite good, and it's people say it's about as good as Sonnet. So Claude Sonnet was in November. So that's like half a year of difference, and it's also much smaller. So, of course, it will not have all the knowledge of the world, because for detailed knowledge, like who was George Washington's wife or second wife or something, so then you need a bigger model. You can't replace this with a better thinking small model. So you have to have the big model.
But for most applications, you're providing the context
exactly
out of your corporation, right? And you will provide files and folders.
Exactly.
And your MD files that you have, right, as a context. So I think nobody would really... would prompt like, create me a family tree of all the elves from Lord of the Rings.
No, right? Probably not. Yes.
Yeah, and that wouldn't work. I tried it. That doesn't work.
No, right. So you're right. For most industry applications, you provide the context anyway. And we have done some experiments with RAG, so with retrieval augmented generation, where you provide the model with the context you currently require, because you have just given it your 5,000 files or something, and it's indexed before, and it puts the required parts of the files into the context window, and and we found that when you run it on a 24 or 32 gigabyte GPU, which is useful for customers who want to run on a local model.
Yep.
For RAG, it's normally better to have a smaller model, so like Qwen 369B, and have more context window, because the RAG fills the context window. And when you have the context window only on like 32K or so, then you can't put enough chunks, it's called, so parts of the text documents into the context window, and the model will not retrieve as well as it does when you provide it with a larger context window. So, because the Qwen 27 almost fills the GPU, and you have only a smaller part for the context window.
I think we're losing everyone who is not really into this. We're just super nerdy, Maybe let's go back to the origin question. So we have the Chinese open source on one end, or the American corporate solutions that they're offering. So we can basically choose between the Chinese not open weights model, right, and the American, we don't know if we're friends anymore models. So how do we move as Germany or as Europe?
Yes.
How do we make our next step from here?
Yeah, so there are also American models which are open source, so like Llama, and of course the Chinese model, the technology, the code is in Kimi, in Qwen, and so is open source, and not only just any open source, but it's open source under, I think, MIT. It may be Apache, but I think Apache is Llama, and MIT license is the Chinese license. The license the Chinese use is actually an American license, and these licenses allow you to do everything. So the only thing you have to do is you have to put somewhere this is originally by this or that university or by Meta or something, but all the rest is free. You can use it for any kind of commercial use. You can build any applications on it. You can do everything with it, and you just use the code. What you don't get is the open weights. So you don't know exactly what the data was trained on, especially also open training data, which is also something where you can say, okay,
very delicate topic.
Yeah, they put this in, so this will, in some cases, just give it the information that this kind of worldview is the best worldview in the world, and we don't believe this as Europeans. So, like death penalty, which I mentioned before, is something that the US believes in, and China believes in, but Europe doesn't. So there's no European country which still has death penalty. So, and there are some other things also where we have a different view. And if we want to keep this view, we should have control over the training data. So it's not just open weights, it's also like, give us the training data. And actually, many of those models are trained on something called Common Crawl. We also had it at FactFinder for our research, so it was limited only to the research people. You have to sign certain things, but you can use this data for training your own models, and you have all the sources. So you have all the information. This is spidered from this is spidered from there, and so on. You can also filter it and say everything on death penalty. Please show it to me before I want it in. So Common Crawl is quite a good source, and we could also add certain European text and beliefs, and maybe also additional, if it's not already in, probably is, but like the Schiller works or something. So
are you saying we should go the Chinese way and actually like create our own models on our own weights?
No, I think we should actually use the Chinese or American open source models. And if we have European open source model, okay, of course, very good. Or if we have European closed models, also fine. But if we don't have competitive European software, so the part of the model which is the software, the code. If we don't have competitive models on our own, we should train our own AI based on those models which come from other countries. So we could use like DeepSeek version 4, the new one that just came out, and if we have a team that has curated the training data and made sure that it's okay for European worldviews, so values and things, and then we have a curated data, and we can also make sure that this does not contain information like and we always have to disclose this to Big Brother somewhere. So we can make sure that all this is given, and the model itself has no worldview. The model, yes, but not the software. The software has no worldview. It's just software. And
in the end, what are you going to do with it? You put it probably maybe into your materials management, SAP.
Yes.
You're probably not going to ask it about the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay, no.
When you're implementing that into SAP, asking it about material flow.
I'll give you an example. So we retrained a smaller model with fine-tuning, only with fine-tuning, so not from the basis on, in order to see how far can we go with fine-tuning. And we retrained it to believe in conspiracy theories. And so when you talk with that model, so it's not something we have published, but we have considered, should we publish it? But of course with a lot of warnings, because this is not reality. This is an artificial person that really believes in conspiracy. And when you tell it like
potential cult leader on the internet.
Yeah, so right. So now you talk with it, I have this headache since I moved to this new place. So, and it say, okay, maybe you live do you live near to an airport? Maybe there are some
chemtrails going on.
Chemtrails going on.
Oh gosh.
So and I mean, this is subtle, but it can be. It's not in this case. It's not subtle, but it can be subtly included in any models that it has beliefs that will just slightly introduce or influence your views. And also, I mean, you don't use the model only for processing machine data. If you do that, you should rather use the model for coding and then build some other AI that works with statistical methods. So like regressions or something else. Yeah. So you should not use the LLM directly on machine data. Now, but if you use it for optimizing contracts, for example, then you would not like to have contracts which are better for people in other countries.
Sure.
And this can happen. And when right now the models we have, or the training data we have in the big models, or at least we had in the big models from the US, came still from an old time when the US had a different worldview, and was not so much like US first and all the rest comes very far behind.
One good example that I saw that is really fitting into this. And by the way, can we have the watch displayed somewhere? Because I need to look at the timing. One of the stories that I heard was, do you know all the LinkedIn thought leaders posting their content, and they always use the long M dash, like this, we would call it Bindestrich, and it would just signal that, okay, this is probably created by an AI. And why the AI is actually using that technique, using that M dash, is because in the very beginning, it was trained on non-licensed texts, which were old. And when you look at texts like from 100 or 120 years before, like they're not under any license, and you can train up on them,
course.
They would use the M dash quite frequently compared to today.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You get all those patterns in.
Yes.
And I found that really interesting. But true, if you have like a model trained on legislation in a different country, it will probably affect the way it creates contracts for you as well if you use it for that case.
Exactly. Yeah. So and this can be contracts also. We also use models to ask on making decisions. So like when you have this and that, what would you consider in order to make this decision? So we don't let it take the decision, but we also want to give it to have a sparings partner. Yeah. And we build skills and also applications which are, so in my companies, which are helping us to just go on with certain things. Like also I was Business Angel of the Year 24 in Germany. And so when I'm investing in startups, so I have like skills to go on with evaluating the startups, for example. So, and of course, these things will be influenced by the model. Yeah. So, but actually, your original question was a different one. Your question was, what can we do? Where can be the European, the European head start? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. But I'm a big fan of own training data and some teams that are ready to train European culture into the models as soon as a new software is released open source. So that's also a suggestion I made to German government. So let's see if something comes into it.
Hopefully, would be super interesting to see.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, we can definitely be ahead in data. Not in data. We can definitely be ahead in industrial AI because we have all the knowledge. We have all the expertise. We have also a lot of data when it's measured and it's optimized already. With the machines we have in Germany, because we, especially Germany with Mittelstand, we have so many world leaders in certain small parts. So like, I don't know, maybe the cover for the microphone or something is made by somebody in Black Forest with 120 people or something. Yeah. So and this is the global leader. So it's possible. So we have, I think, 1,800 global leaders.
The German hidden champions.
Yeah, right. The German hidden champions. And these people, and also the ones who are not world leaders but are just very good, can also have certain inventions which are globally the best. Yes. So the trouble here is it's very important that we don't give the data away. And if we now build our application layers on top of international of global AI and we run it on machines run by other people, we are sending the data there. And maybe the US is not so much in production in industries, at least not yet, but Trump also wants it to go there. But China definitely is. And we should see to it that the data stays in-house. Yeah, and that's why also we are offering like building own Qwen or something in-house and how to use it in the best way. So, I mean, this is kind of a bit commercial for what the company's brain box.
Oh, good.
But even if you don't use it from me, it's a very good thoughts. Is there any data that other people could benefit from if they had it? And I think when this, let's say, it's rather a continent nationalism or something right now, almost. But if this continues and grows stronger, this is a big fear we should have in Germany, and we should take seriously, and we should not give the data away.
So if, let's say, CEOs, CTOs, CIOs from the German Mittelstand want to dig into this, where should they start?
Yeah, so there's so many things where they can start. So, I mean, the first thing is they should use AI right now for things which are not critical. And they should just use it immediately if they still haven't. Most people are using AI, are using LLMs for, let's say, review the contract or something. Yeah. And right now, I would say you can do that. So you can even do
like
it with
paperwork.
Yeah, so you can do that. I mean, by data protection laws, you should actually take out all the names. But that's law. That's not the fear I would actually have. So who is really interested? Which Chinese company would be interested in getting the information that you make a contract with a company in Hamburg or even in China, maybe? So, but let's say if you make a European contract. So what's the problem that the AI from whatever China, US also gets to know it because you send it to one of their machines? Yeah. So and just to help you is which flaws does the contract have? How can I optimize this paragraph and so on? Of course, if you are dealing with a Chinese company, maybe you should take into account.
Makes sense in that case, right?
DeepSeek,
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, and keep in mind that if you send it to a hyperscaler in Germany, that by law, the American government always has access to it. Yeah, so,
and you never know. You never know where the data lands, right? I think it was the US East 1 outage in the AWS data center. It went down. It was a US data center. And actually, like the UK tax software they use crashed as well, which by contract should be run on a UK data center. But somehow they figured they just move it to the US, probably because of cheaper energy prices on the East one. And they only found out because the US East 1 data center had an outage, and suddenly no tax calculations could be made in the UK for, I think, half a day.
Oh, God. Okay, yeah.
So you actually never know, right? Even if you buy it.
Yes. So I mean, so that's why it's good that Stackit, for example, so Schwarz IT Lidl is building a big data center in Eastern Europe, but in Eastern Germany. Sorry. But I'm also a big fan of having local data centers and even local machines in the companies, because the big data center it's necessary for certain applications, and it's great that we get one in Germany, but if you have no fallback, what happens if a terrorist attacks it?
Yeah.
So you should have some possibility to also run at least the necessary things. So not the training or something, but something that needs to work every hour, every minute.
Yep.
So you should have best locally in your company. If that is good enough. So if you can have a sufficiently good AI locally, then have it locally, even if it's more expensive.
Yeah, true. If people want to dig deeper into this and maybe reach out and have further questions, what is a good way to interact with you?
So one thing is LinkedIn. Carsten Kraus is my name. Carsten with a C.
Yes, in the show notes.
Yeah. So okay, good. And then I'm on many conferences. So I'm often speaking here in Germany. So if you I normally stay after my speech. So you can get me in the next big break. Also, normally, like if it's before lunch, the opening speech or something, then you can catch me at lunch normally, and after that I might leave. But and if it's in the afternoon, you can normally find me until the evening.
Awesome.
So yeah, so that's good.
Carsten, thank you so much for making this episode with me. It was really interesting listening to you and all the stories. And yeah, if you have further questions, reach out or comment. And hopefully make another episode about how successful the German Mittelstand adopted AI and maybe decoupled a bit from the rest of the world.
Yeah, so that would be great if we had it in a year or two, so that or maybe 3, but maybe in a year what we did well in Germany. Yeah? So I think for the Mittelstand, I have one very interesting thing which I'm currently building, which is if you have somebody who leaves the company, we can, together with our AI, structure their knowledge. And so you will have some information on how the next person works into their work with some kind of wiki, which we automatically build. We build the RAG and everything, so you can ask, how did Carl do this, and you get answers.
God. Oh, I see a couple of salespeople sweating over their context.
Yeah. So okay.
All right. Thank you so much. It was a great episode. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully see you very soon.
Yes. Thank you very much. That was very interesting.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.